So this time around,
I have heard stories out of the Chimaev camp that Chimaev is training so hard and putting it on guys, elite level guys, like nothing you've ever seen before. I have heard Khamzat Chimaev wants people to go so hard with him to try to beat him and submit him and do. He's paying him. He doesn't care. I got some guys in the gym, at my gym, that know people there. They're like, man, this dude, if somebody can submit him, there's like money. The Saints got in trouble for bounty gate. Khamzat's putting a bounty on himself to make guys give him all that they have. This dude, it's different.
You know, I know Imamov and Khamzat kind of don't want to fight each other. I'm not really excited for that fight. Not a lot of people are, but the Strickland fight, I believe I faced Strickland. In the striking, he definitely beats Khamzat for sure. Khamzat, a problem to deal with when he has you on your back. We've seen that many times. With Strickland, what he does brilliantly, I took Strickland down, I think 7 times. The way he gets up to hold him down is incredibly hard. At Extreme Couture, where they specialize in that cage wrestling, getting back to his feet. And Strickland's a lot stronger than people might think. I think he has a very good chance in that fight.
Needs no nickname. He gets called lots of names by a lot of people because he's a controversial guy. But I'll tell you what, the way that he beat Alexander Fluffy Hernandez, the way that he put a beat down on him respectfully to Fluffy, the way that he finished him with that knee to the midsection, and then, to be honest, how he handled himself on the microphone, right?
Fluffy's the definition of a man.
He deserves this shot. Of course, he lost the belt to Dricus du Plessis. How's he going to do against Khamzat Chimaev? I don't know about that. Khamzat Chimaev is ridiculous. What is he, 15-0? He's a force.
Dude, Strickland by round 5 TKO, bro. You know, the classic fucking UFC 308 when Chimaev was fighting Whitaker. The amount of people I saw. Dude, Bobby Knuckles by fucking round 5 TKO, dude. Dude, Bobby Knuckles is going to survive 4 rounds of Khamzat Chimaev and then TKO him in the 5th round. And they genuinely think Khamzat Chimaev is like Guram, dude. They talk about Khamzat's cardio like he's fucking Jose Medino, dude. I don't think he's going to drastically gas out fighting Sean Strickland. That's one reason why I'm picking him, despite the fact that I think Sean Strickland can get back.
The UFC just locked in one of those fights that has everyone talking right now. Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev is officially happening, and the buzz around this matchup is through the roof. These two have been going back and forth for a while now, and you can feel that tension building every time they mention each other. What makes this even more interesting is how different their approaches are. Strickland brings that sharp striking game, while Chimaev just bulldozes people with his wrestling. The anticipation has experts everywhere breaking down exactly how this could go when they finally meet in the Octagon.
That could be a problem, but realistically, do I think that Sean Strickland can stuff takedown after takedown and chain wrestle and stuff? I don't know. And if I was going to be honest, no, I don't think so. I think that Khamzat could do, maybe not exactly what he did to DDP, but he can eventually, if he, plays this smart and does the safe route, he can absolutely win this fight by like ground and pound decision, or not really ground and pound, but like top control, very light ground and pound decision. Or he could submit Sean Strickland. I could easily see him getting to the back, and with that freakish level strength he has and the squeeze, that could be part of it as well. So yeah, I am so in for this event though. That's so sick. May 9th, Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev is on the feet for a very, very long time. I can see Strickland. If it is on the ground for long periods or even early, I'm saying Chimaev probably washes him. But I mean, you see as of right now.
Michael Bisping sees this as a massive challenge for Strickland, the kind of fight that could expose weaknesses or prove he belongs at the top. Bisping was impressed with how Strickland handled his recent win over Fluffy Hernandez, especially that relentless pressure and brutal body shot that ended everything. But Chimaev represents something completely different. This guy stays undefeated by physically breaking opponents from the first second. Even that decision against Dracas Duplessis showed Bisping that Chimaev can control elite competition for extended periods, keeping that crushing pressure going round after round without letting up.
I am, of course, talking about the one and only Khamzat Chimaev taking on for the middleweight title, Sean Strickland. That is correct. Sean needs no nickname. He gets called lots of names by a lot of people because he's a controversial guy. But I'll tell you what, the way that he beat Alexander Fluffy Hernandez, the way that he put a beat down on him respectfully to Fluffy, the way that he finished him with that knee to the midsection, and then, to be honest, how he handled himself on the microphone, right?
Fluffy's the definition of a man.
He deserves this shot. Of course, he lost the belt to Dracas Duplessis. How's he going to do against Khamzat Chimaev? I don't know about that. Khamzat Chimaev is ridiculous. What is he, 15-0? He's a force of nature. Of course, went to a decision with Dracas Duplessis, controlled him throughout the entirety of the fight. Yes, he was trying to finish it, but he didn't get it. But other than that, he does smoke.
The whole fight boils down to one thing, according to Bisping. Can Strickland handle Chimaev's wrestling and that non-stop forward march that crumbles so many fighters? That single element decides everything else. Strickland's boxing works beautifully when he controls distance with that constant jab and keeps things standing where he wants them. But Chimaev transforms fights the second he gets his grip on someone and pulls them into his domain. Bisping frames it perfectly. Strickland needs to survive the grappling long enough to turn this into the striking battle where he holds the cards.
Marvov, I know Marvov beat Kyle Bohayo, but when you look at it, Strickland's already beat Marvov. Yeah, it was a while ago, but a win's a win. And he just put a beat down and a stoppage on Fluffy, right? Marvov beat Kyle Bohayo by decision. And we all know this sport's about what have you done for me lately. There is a backstory between Chimaev and Sean Strickland. They have trained with one another. There's a bit of shit talk. There's going to be bad blood. We know that the lead up to the fight will be goddamn insane, right? Chimaev doesn't hold back. He talks shit, but in a kind of reserved way, but like he truly believes in himself. And Sean Strickland is just going to go on the full offensive. We know that. We know that. He's going to be talking some crazy shit. Dana even joked about it on the little show that we did there. He said they're going to need extra security for that fight during the fight week, leading up to the fight, after the fight, in the fight. It's going to be a mad one because Sean Strickland doesn't hold back. And you know what? Even if you don't like the shit that he says, you have to appreciate the entertainment value that he brings to the table. And then on top of that, the performances inside the Octagon. That one against Fluffy, that was a different...
Bedtime MMA dove deep into what those wrestling exchanges actually look like between these specific fighters. He thinks Strickland probably hits the canvas at some point because Chimaev's timing and power make that almost certain. But what happens next matters way more than the initial takedown. Strickland actually has underrated skills when it comes to getting back up. He breaks grips intelligently, fights hands well, and works his way back to standing without exposing his back or falling into submission traps. Because of those defensive abilities, Bedtime MMA doesn't see Khamzat controlling him on the ground like he's done to others who just get stuck there helplessly. Instead, expect sequences where Khamzat scores the takedown and gets position, but then Strickland battles his way back up through smart defensive work.
But I just feel like it's basically you have to accept, okay, Sean Strickland is going to get taken down. But a reason why I think he's going to do well in this matchup despite that is because he's not a guy I worry about if he gets taken down. We've seen in the DDP fight that Sean Strickland has a very good and underrated ability to get back up from takedowns, which a lot of other middleweights don't, right? Because Khamzat doesn't have to get perfect setups to take you down. He has that BJJ threat that allows him to rack up control time. But Sean Strickland is very high level in his ability to break the grips, to fight the hands, to get back up to his knees and to his feet without giving up his back too much, without putting his neck out there and getting submitted. Because that's the real danger with a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, right? You fucking wrestle up the wrong way, you're ending up on BJJ Fanatics, dog. You wrestle up the wrong way, you put your head out there. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna break down how Khamzat Chimaev got the finish. That you're going on IG Reels, bro. You know what I mean, dude? Jack Slack's making a 30-minute video about how you got rear naked choked, dog. But Khamzat Chimaev is so good at just controlling people because of that threat. And that's what makes this difficult, is Sean Strickland, if you give up your back as him, you're gonna spend all round on bottom getting beat up, threatened with subs, and you're gonna...
Another fascinating angle he brings up is how that grinding back and forth affects Khamzat's conditioning as the fight progresses. Strickland's ability to keep standing back up forces Khamzat to work harder for every second of ground control, potentially making him shoot multiple times in the same round. Those repeated explosive efforts and constant level changes can slowly sap energy even from well-conditioned athletes. But he doesn't buy into the idea that Khamzat completely fades like some fans predict. Even if Strickland makes the grappling more difficult and turns it into a real war, he still expects Khamzat to maintain steady pressure and keep pushing his wrestling throughout the fight without abandoning what works.
Chimaev against DDP, he would lose him on the initial shot, and then he'd rush him again and take him to the cage where he's very hard to stop, or shoot again lower on the legs and collect the legs and then build up to a body lock and then take him down again. He has the cardio and he has the skill set to do that again and again and again. At least 2 or 3 times around, Khamzat Chimaev can fail an initial takedown or lose you on a takedown and then reshoot. So that, I think, can be a path to victory, but if he has to do it more than like 2 times in a round, I think we will start to see Khamzat Chimaev slow down. And Strickland has the skill set to continuously get back up, get back up, get back up. So I think in that aspect of just dominating Strickland in the grappling, holding him down or submitting him or beating him up, similar to the way that he kind of dominated DDP in the grappling, I don't think that's going to happen to Sean Strickland. I think the first round obviously is always going to be a wash for Khamzat Chimaev. He's going to take you down, he's going to get on your back, and he's going to just hold you there and beat you up.
James Lynch focused heavily on why the UFC chose to make this particular fight happen right now, looking at the promotional and business angles. While some argued Nasruddin Imavov deserved the opportunity more based purely on rankings and recent performances, the UFC clearly considered the bigger picture of what creates compelling fights for audiences. Lynch highlighted that Khamzat and Sean already have genuine history from training together previously, plus years of social media exchanges and interview comments directed at each other. All that existing tension and background means the promotion practically sells itself without needing manufactured drama or fake storylines.
And listen, I do feel bad for Nasruddin Imavov not getting this title shot. He's absolutely done everything he needs to do to get a title shot. But like I mentioned in that video, one of the things the UFC has struggled to do when it comes to making fights is having real grudge matches, people that don't like each other, and adding some hype to a fight. And I think this is the makings of one of the best grudge match fights for a title that we've seen in a long time, and that is obviously Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland fighting each other. They don't like each other. There's some history. They've trained together too. Sean Strickland, very outlandish on the mic. Khamzat Chimaev, not afraid to talk some trash either. We've seen some of the back and forth on social media. I mean, let's just talk about the context of this, and that is that these two don't like each other. They're two high-level fighters. It's going to be a very interesting build-up to this fight, and you've already got the UFC kind of stacking the deck a bit.
Lynch also examined the matchup from a statistical perspective to build a complete picture of both fighters. He talked extensively about Strickland's incredible activity level on the feet, how he constantly pumps out massive volume with that jab to control range and dictate tempo, but he also noted something important. Strickland does absorb shots in exchanges. He's not some untouchable defensive master, and his takedown defense faces its biggest test yet against someone with Chimaev's wrestling credentials. Those wrestling skills and Chimaev's ability to control opponents became the main concerns Lynch emphasized, especially after watching how Chimaev repeatedly took down and controlled Dricus du Plessis for large portions of their contest.
You know, Sean Strickland, let's look at his stats, which I think are interesting to note here. Sean Strickland, lots of striking output, 6.04. His striking accuracy is at 42%, which is a bit lower. His striking defense is at 60%, so he does get hit a little bit, but not that much. 60% is actually fairly high. His takedown defense is at 76%. That is certainly going to get tested in this fight against Khamzat Chimaev, who we saw in his last fight just take down Dricus du Plessis at will. Du Plessis looked like, he got dominated. I mean, there's no other way to put it, right? If we take a closer look at Chimaev's stats, kind of have a look here as well. Chimaev, his takedown defense is 85, although we won't see a takedown there. His striking defense is at 43%, so that actually isn't that high. He does get hit a bit. So that's where things get interesting if it does stay standing. Now, I would argue Chimaev's got more power than Strickland as far as the stand-up goes. We've seen Chimaev get like some knockout
When Lynch made his actual prediction, he leaned toward Chimaev winning based primarily on that relentless pressure and elite wrestling that defines every Chimaev fight. He acknowledged that Strickland has pulled off shocking upsets before, like when he stunned everyone by beating Israel Adesanya for the title, but he still viewed Chimaev as the tougher stylistic matchup for what Strickland brings. Lynch reasoned that Chimaev's ability to keep forcing takedowns and establishing dominant positions could gradually break Strickland down across championship rounds, building damage and draining energy reserves systematically.
As far as how I think the fight plays out, I do think Chimaev wins. I think Strickland, I mean, he had lightning in a bottle against Israel Adesanya. You know, he's capable of pulling off an upset. We've seen that before. I just think Chimaev is, I don't know if anyone beats Chimaev right now. And that includes Imavov. I don't think Imavov is going to beat Chimaev either. I think Chimaev is just going to continue to get those takedowns, going to continue to put pressure on. I wonder, though, can he finish Strickland? I'm not sure. He wasn't able to finish DDP. And again, I thought DDP and Strickland were kind of neck and neck when you saw those matchups. I know every fight's different as far as the styles go, but I think Chimaev might end up winning a decision here. I don't think it's going to be a quick finish. I know he's threatened Strickland and saying, you know, like, it's going to be a quick win and all that stuff. You know, I don't think that's going to happen here.
Chael Sonnen immediately noticed the betting odds and found them worth discussing at length. Khamzat opened as roughly a 6-1 favorite, which Sonnen considered an extremely wide margin for a championship caliber fight between elite competitors. He compared it to other major UFC fights throughout history, where even clear favorites had much closer odds, and that comparison made him wonder if people were sleeping on Sean Strickland's abilities. His point was that odds like that typically suggest expectations of a dominant victory, almost like the favorite should finish early and make it look routine. When Sonnen analyzed the actual matchup beyond just the numbers, he said everything hinges on one factor. Can Sean Strickland stuff Khamzat Chimaev's wrestling across 5 complete rounds? If those takedowns start connecting regularly, fights usually become lopsided quickly because Chimaev is so incredibly powerful and controlling in ground positions. Sonnen thinks Strickland might actually be one of the few middleweights who could make that wrestling aspect difficult thanks to his wide stance, excellent balance, and overall defensive instincts he's developed over time. Even so, when forced to pick a winner, he favored Chimaev mainly because of that constant pressure and grappling control that eventually wears down most opponents. Wade Plemons views this fight primarily through the grappling differential between both fighters, seeing that as the decisive factor. His central argument is that Khamzat's wrestling and ground control represent the most significant advantages in the entire matchup, the elements that ultimately determine the winner. In most Khamzat fights, once he brings it to the ground and secures position, he rapidly takes control and keeps opponents trapped there, unable to escape or generate meaningful offense. Given that consistent pattern, Wade expects Khamzat to pursue wrestling early and maintain that approach throughout. If that wrestling-heavy strategy unfolds, Strickland could spend extended periods defending on his back instead of striking where he operates best. Wade envisions this potentially becoming Khamzat controlling position, landing accumulating shots, and possibly hunting for submissions when opportunities arise. Due to all these factors, Wade gives Khamzat the overall advantage in this matchup. He argues that defending 1 or 2 takedown attempts differs completely from defending constant attempts across an entire 25-minute championship fight. Eventually, he believes Khamzat will likely find his moment to bring the fight down. It's simply a question of timing. Once that occurs, Wade thinks Khamzat's physical strength and grappling pressure could completely take over. From his analytical viewpoint, the outcome depends mostly on where the fight occurs and who successfully imposes their game plan. Wade breaks it down to one simple but crucial question that determines everything. Can Strickland keep this standing long enough to make his striking work and build damage? Or will Khamzat drag it down where he typically dominates and controls people? If Strickland defends early takedowns and maintains steady pace on the feet, things could shift dramatically as Chimaev's output potentially decreases. But if Khamzat establishes ground control even just a few times per round, that might be sufficient to swing the fight decisively in his favor on scorecards. The matchup ultimately rests on that critical battle between takedown defense and relentless wrestling pressure. Whoever wins that battle probably takes home the victory.